to the well where the water runs deep. Stay here with me. Stay here with me. Come to...
Welcome once again, dear friends, to the Creative Recovery Initiative, where we create some space to consider addiction and alcoholism and the places, both creative and transformative, through which we seek our recovery and healing. In the next few episodes of the Creative Recovery Initiative, I'd like to share my story, what we in AA like to call my experience, strength, and hope. A bleak situation was rendered that much more so in the light of her frantic quest for answers. Anger and fear morphed into numbing pain. Like anyone faced with rocks and hard places, desperate measures become a moment-by-moment reality. And caught in that place, she contemplated her options. Do I stay with the boys but kick him out of the house? Is there a way for us to escape back to Canada where at least we know more people and have a support system? She pondered it all, fearfully. She chose instead to call a counselor seeking, counsel. His advice offered a modicum of comfort. Their tenuous immigration situation denied quick and easy solutions, even in the face of such challenges as presently faced them. It was complicated. If she left and went back to Canada, she would throw away everything she had already endured through the whole arduous process. Besides, if I couldn't return to see my dad who's diagnosed with cancer, I certainly won't do so for a drunk, she agonized. Some relief came by way of a phone call. Susie, his soprano, confronter, and close family friend, called, offering her and the boys a weekend getaway to be deemed Camp Susie. It provided opportunity for long soaks and bathtubs of tears, still longer talks well into the night with an understanding soul. It was somewhere for their boys to play with hers, blissfully unaware of the gravity of the situation. Meanwhile, events were moving quickly for him. He had already met with his discernment team, was assigned a sponsor, and 2 hours later, still green and nauseous, he sat in his first AA meeting. He would come to know that Methodist church basement intimately. In that cold but hopeful room that smelled of nicotine and bad coffee, he vocalized what would be the first of hundreds of similar introductions. Hi, I'm Rob, and I'm an alcoholic. He walked the 20 minutes home and sheepishly entered the front door. He showed her and his boys his first coin, then left for the conference he had been drinking all week to forget. You see, rather foolishly, he had offered to sit on the steering committee in charge of his denominational's annual regional gathering. It was his responsibility to organize and implement all plenary worship times, complete with music, technical requirements, and liturgies. It was a job he knew well, but with which he had never been totally confident. And since Kent and entourage felt it important for him to carry on with his present responsibilities as a path to healing, he turned and drove away. He had no idea what, if anything, might be awaiting him upon his return. Saturday morning came, and after a Friday evening drenched in heavy tears, she hauled herself reluctantly out of bed in order to go home and check on their dog. On the way, she discussed with Callum, their eldest, the very real possibility of them leaving the country, never to return. She still waffled back and forth with what few options were available. As is so often the case, wisdom is held in the hands of its youth. Callum shared that he didn't want to leave the country without paying a $5 debt he owed to a local record store merchant. She couldn't help but think to herself, wow, all this integrity from an 11-year-old. If only. As they walked into the house, she headed straight to the phone and called her dad. The sound of his voice was more than she could handle. His strong and vibrant presence bespoke an unwavering commitment to her and hers, despite his cancer-weakened state. He sensed her call was urgent and paused to let her speak. He got tears instead, lots of them. He knew immediately what was up and just let her cry. As her grief subsided enough to do so, he asked astutely, "It's Rob again, isn't it? He's been drinking." An overfull kettle of grief and despair spewed out as she retold the events of the past few days in wave upon wave of fresh tears. The speakerphone rang out as Judy, his wife, and their stepmother-in-law prodded gently. "If alcoholism is really a disease, would you leave? If he had cancer, would you leave him?" "No," she answered. "If he had heart disease, would you leave?" Again, she replied, "No." If indeed it was true that alcoholism was a disease, she couldn't possibly leave one so inflicted, even if every cell in her weary body begged otherwise. Following an exhausting but cathartic conversation, the three of them arrived at some conclusions. Perhaps AA would be the first time he'd return to honestly face this disease with some prospect of healing. Her dad made it clear that they were always welcome home, but strongly urged her to carry on. As an immigrant himself from England many years earlier, when she was but 4 years old, no one understood better the high stakes involved. At the conference for which he'd been preparing, he was discovering something as if for the very first time. He could function at very high levels of wit, competence, creativity, and responsibility, all without alcohol. For most, this was called normal adulthood. For him, it was a welcome epiphany. He was flying, but for completely different reasons. It felt like being born again.
Come to the well where the water runs deep. Stay here with me. Stay here